So we bowl things off on this Monday edition of the SportsMax Zone with cricket. India have won the ICC Champions trophy for the third time, ending their 12-year wait for a global 50-over title. They got the better of New Zealand by 4 wickets in Sunday's title decider in Dubai to punctuate their incredible tournament quality in the format with a 23rd win from 24 ICC tournament matches dating back to the 2023 World Cup. New Zealand elected to bat and battled to 251 for 7 with half centuries from Darren Mitchell 63 and Michael Bracewell 53 not out. Varun Chakravarti and Kuldeep Yadav picked up 2 wickets each to lead the Indian attack. Player of the match and captain Rohit Sharma then stroked an entertaining 76 to set up India's title charge. And supported by Shreyas Iyer's 48, India got to their target at 254 for 6 with 1 over to spare. Joining us now to recap the final and tournament is our captain, the former Liverpool supporter, Fazir Mohammed. Faz, I'm not sure why Donald is laughing, and I'm not sure why you're laughing. Here am I trying to conduct a serious show, and I'm getting laughter from my guest and my guest presenter.
Well, this is the first time I'm hearing this is a serious show, but yeah. So let's go with that. But yeah, it's interesting that you throw in that former Liverpool supporter thing with Liverpool running away with the title this time around.
Yeah, Faz. Your thoughts on what happened in the Champions Trophy here, because India showed themselves as the most competent team throughout the tournament, but their title success hasn't been embraced, Faz, because people think that a lot of things were set up in their favor. So it almost takes some of the glory away from them globally, that fans aren't celebrating with them in the way that you would expect.
I understand that, and I fully appreciate all those points that are being made. But Gautam Gambhir, let me just repeat what he said when he was asked about India having an unfair advantage about actually playing at a venue outside of the so-called host country. And indeed, there wasn't even a Pakistani presence at the presentation yesterday, which really shows the extent of Indian dominance of the international game. And Gambhir said all the critics need to grow up. However he phrased it, my interpretation of it is that we all need to grow up and recognize that what India are doing, even if it appears more brazen than anyone else, is what the powers that be or would have been in cricket at all levels long before the international game, and even now during the international game, have always sought to do. The powerful nations of cricket have been brought up to believe that they are better than everyone else, and therefore they are entitled to do what they want. And in the case of India, they, as I've mentioned before, because they've been treated like dogs for essentially 70 years until they awaken to their own economic might and their sponsorship and all of that, and they have decided they're going to treat everyone else like dogs around the cricketing world, and no one can do them anything about it because there is no merit in the structure of cricket. It's all about a hierarchy that goes back many, many years. So yeah, I agree with Gautam Gambhir that rather than complain about what India are doing, unless people are going to awaken to the reality that this is inherently what cricket is all about, then they're really barking up the wrong tree.
About the cricket itself, though, Faz, we saw where Rohit Sharma had struggled for the better part of 2024, and his T20 World Cup campaign was, below par and under a lot of pressure. How much of a rebound would this have been for his image in Indian cricket?
An important rebound, and also because, remember, he had a poor test series as well, yes, together with Virat Kohli. And look at how Virat Kohli responded during this Champions Trophy with a couple of excellent innings. And again, people recognizing how outstanding he is in this format of the game. But to the issue of Rohit Sharma, I think there's always that burning desire to go out on a high for players of this caliber, playing at a time when India are the dominant force, even with that series loss, because they control things off the field and on the field in many ways, and especially in the white ball formats, as you mentioned correctly. Yes, they lost the 50-over final to Australia on Indian soil, but they won the T20 in the Caribbean. They've just won the Champions Trophy, defeating a game, really battling New Zealand team. And for Rohit Sharma to play the innings that he did, it's sort of like reminding everyone that he's still a quality player. He may not be the player that he was a couple of years ago, but there's still enough gas in the tank left for people not to automatically want to write him off.
You know, Faz, I thought this Indian team would have faced some adversity in the actual final. The thing is that they lost the toss, and you figured that it would have probably gone against them or at least affected them. Yeah, the game was kind of close in the end, with them winning with about 6 balls to spare. But were you impressed by how they overcame the fact that, okay, they really had to bat last on a pitch that was getting slower and slower and favoured spin?
Yeah, but let's also recognize, Donald, that New Zealand were without Matt Henry, the leading wicket taker in the tournament, and even if he didn't play in the final, he still finished as the leading wicket taker, and he could have had an impact. But that is mere speculation. But to your point, Don, quite clearly, India are strong in all departments. The bowlers, the spinners strangled New Zealand just when they were looking to accelerate. It made the difference. And you're right, it looks close when you say India won with 1 over to spare. But in reality, you always felt they had the measure of the target. That when you've got Hardik Pandya at the crease, you know it's only a couple of clean swings away from getting you 12 runs in 2 balls. And that is what a quality team brings. And credit, again, as I say, and it might sound repetitive, but I think New Zealand deserve all the credit they get for the way they continuously make it to semi-finals and finals, and disappointing for them that they weren't able to cross the line. But you're talking about an Indian team that is strong all the way down the line. In the batting department, they've got quality in the bowling department. And as I said again, as much as New Zealand huffed and puffed on a wearing pitch, you always got the sense that India had so much quality right down the order that they had the measure of the target.
Yeah, a word on New Zealand, because again, they've come to a place where they've always competed. And the thing about New Zealand that they are a unit that competes very well at the highest level. Of course, they would have made a couple of finals as well. But what do you think that is needed from them for them to get over the line? Because, you know, I suppose after West Indies, they would probably be the neutrals' favourite.
Indeed, and it reminds me of Sri Lanka's situation. As I'm sure you might recall, Donald, 2007 in the Caribbean, they were beaten finalists. 2009, beaten finalists again in the T20. 2011, beaten finalists in the 50-over World Cup. 2012, lost to the West Indies in the T20 final before they eventually pulled it off in the 2014 T20, which was a farewell to some of their outstanding players. And it could be just that added bit of spark, that added bit of self-belief. I suppose when these things start to happen quite regularly, it becomes almost a psychological barrier. But I still give New Zealand tremendous credit because, again, for a nation of just a few million people, it's less than the combined Caribbean, they are still able to produce quality cricketers. And you look at their fast bowling lineup, if Matt Henry was fit, I'm not just talking about this Champions Trophy tournament, but they've got a very, very formidable fast bowling lineup that is available to them. They've got quality in every department of the game. But I think more than anything else, it's the sum of their parts. And I think that is why New Zealand overachieved in so many different sports, in so many different parts of the world. And again, it's just lacking that extra edge to win a final. But I don't think they come away with any lost credit from the way they performed in this tournament.
Well, the thing is, Kohli has said that he expects his India team to dominate for the next 8 years because of the type of squad that they have. And I'm not sure if that statement brings a smile to the faces of many people supporting other teams in international cricket. Neither yours, I suppose.
Well, actually, I have no problem with that, Don, because I was reading a bit today on the BBC website about there being a level of apathy now with Indian dominance and Indian having their way. I don't recall a level of apathy when the West Indies were the most dominant force in the game, unbeaten in Test series for 15 years. In fact, wherever the West Indies went, the grounds were full to see the greatest cricketing team that ever walked onto a cricketing field. And this idea that there's a level of apathy, I think that speaks to first world arrogance and their unwillingness to accept that someone other than them is actually running the show, both on and off the field, however improper we consider it to be, because they would have done even worse many decades ago. The point is, Donald, when you really think about it, if you look at it in pure numbers, as a statsman, as I'm sure you are, India should have been dominating the game 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just that they grew up with this idea, this sahib, bowing low and accepting your place in the world sort of attitude. And that all changed. They won the World Cup in '83, which was a seminal moment. We've had Ganguly as captain, forthright and in your face. And that has all changed with the new century. So I don't think 8 years is enough for India. I think India have what it takes, unless they get complacent about it, to rule the game to the point of rendering almost everybody else inconsequential. If that sounds like an exaggeration, it's only because India's #1 sport in cricket, and you're talking about a nation that is the most populous in the world. Put the two together and you can see long-term dominance.
Well, let's hope they don't start playing football well, because that would be another laughing matter for the rest of us, Lance.
Yeah, you know what? I've said many times in my office, Spaz, that India are without question, and on the show, the best team in the world at the moment, in all formats, even though Australia are current World Test champions. And I know the dogged determination of the Aussies that make them a hard team to beat. But when you look at quality and match-winning potential in this India team, you know, the roster knows no bounds as far as, you know, players that can win matches for them. So I take the point that India is setting themselves up for a very formidable run as world leaders in the game. I saw where the ICC named their team of the tournament, 12 players, 6 Indians, so they fill half of the spots, 4 New Zealanders and 2 Afghans, Faz. No Aussies, and I guess that sort of matches the narrative that you've been presenting over the past couple of minutes, that, you know, there's a new world order.
And much to the chagrin of the old order, because you would have heard all sorts of references. You know, the India, it was said 15 years ago, the India are the new monsters of the game. They're gonna destroy what we love. You had people like Surya and Botham talking about the IPL being like slavery. You wouldn't find anyone saying that now, because everyone shuts up and zips up because they want a piece of the action from the IPL, or they at least want a piece of the action, however it's shaped, from the BCCI. So the point is, people are very convenient with their morality until they see the dollar signs, and then they shut up. So essentially what we are seeing is a situation where the countries that were the established powers, who are hanging on desperately as part of the big three, England and Australia I'm referring to, they are grudgingly accepting that this is the way it is, but they can't stand it. They can't stand the fact that a nation from the Indian subcontinent, with other nations coming on board and being just as aggressive and forceful and in your face, they can't stand the fact that they are being pushed to the side when it comes to the wheeling and dealing at ICC meetings, and they're trying their best desperately to look polite about it, but they can't take it.
Yeah, I saw on a different note, Faz, where Harry Brook now faces a 2-year ban from the IPL because he has twice now withdrawn from his Delhi Capital setup, having been signed up or, you know, being bought in the auction. His words were he's stepping away from the IPL to focus on his international duties for England, which is not a normal state of affairs for most world cricketers at the moment.
No, it isn't, except for places like England
That's right.
and Australia.
Yes.
Because they are incredibly well paid. They don't have to play IPL to boost their bank balances. The same can be said certainly for our players in the Caribbean. And that's why I hold nothing against our Caribbean cricketers for prioritizing their financial welfare, because that's what the Kerry Packer players did. All our legends in the late 1970s. But in the case of this 2-year ban, I doubt very much if Harry Brook is at all perturbed by it. He might very well say, without saying it openly, well, make it 5 years now. Ban me for 5 years. I really don't care, because I'm being well paid anyway.
All right, Faz, always great talking cricket with you on the SportsMax Zone. And we'll talk again soon as we have some exciting cricket set to come up in the Caribbean in the coming months with the Aussies travelling here soon as well. But Faz, take care and we'll talk again. Thanks, man.
Take care.
Yeah, Fazir Mohammed there, looking back at the ICC Champions Trophy, which India won impressively with an unbeaten record, getting by New Zealand in the final on Sunday in Dubai. We go to break. We'll be back with more on the SportsMax Zone after this.